Hi, today we have Advocate J.K. Mittal with us for interview. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you.
Let's start with the first question. So, what was your issue with Bharti Airtel, sir?
Bharti provided me the one broadband connection,
Okay.
and along with that, they were supposed to provide me the true email ID, which
Okay.
is can be configured with Outlook Express,
Mm-hmm.
and as well as my password for that.
Okay.
Which, despite given in writing, they
Mm-hmm.
did not provide it to me. That was the issue which was taken up in the court.
Okay. Okay. So, what was the point when you decided to take this issue to the consumer forum?
Once after couple of mails were exchanged and they were not heeding towards what they promised,
Okay.
and ultimately we thought that is the only remedy before us. We should
Exactly.
use to the consumer court.
Yeah. So, it must have been a long struggle from district forum to the high court. And how did you cope up with the disappointments? Did you ever want to give up?
No, I never wanted to give up because only point before the consumer forum was whether this case is maintainable or not. Because of the Supreme Court orders,
Yes. Yes.
they were taking a very myopic view. This
Okay.
complaint is not maintainable. We
Okay.
try to pursue to the consumer court as well as to the state commission to hear us on merit that this complaint itself is maintainable. This Supreme Court decision is not applicable in the facts of the case.
Okay.
But since they did not hear, only option was before us to approach to the High Court, and High Court, after giving the detailed hearing, pass a judgment that such kind of complaints are maintainable before the consumer court.
That is really great, sir. So, what are your views on the Supreme Court Justice Krishnan judgment? Do you think that this High Court order is likely to be appealed, or what are the chances that Supreme Court will constitute a larger bench for this?
What I feel, because since we have already filed a caveat in the High Court, because it was in the High Court it was a single bench order,
Okay.
and that ideally could be taken up instead of to the Supreme Court before the division bench of the High Court,
Okay.
which has not been taken up despite the maximum time period is there for filing an appeal.
Yeah.
It has not been appeal has not been
Okay.
filed. Secondly, because the judgment of the High Court itself is very crystal clear. They have analyzed each and every the provision of the law, and the conclusion was drawn
Okay.
nothing debar, because what the Supreme Court judgment was saying, as per section 7B of the Telegraph Act, the case has to go to the Telegraph Authority, between the Telegraph Authority and the consumers, to the arbitration.
Okay.
But what they said, the Telegraph Authority has been defined under the Telegraph Act.
Okay.
These are not the Telegraph Authority, these are the licensee. And if the licensee is there, that provision shall not apply. In
Okay.
fact, what I would say, as on date, there is no Telegraph Authority provide any telecom service.
Okay.
In the private operators,
Yeah.
even in the BSNL and even the MTNLs, they are not Telegraph Authority at all.
Yes.
In fact, these are the cases come up in the Supreme Court in the larger bench. If you refer the BSNL case,
Okay.
which was the service tax matter, and for which we claim to expert in that field.
Okay.
Then there are statements from the Union of India. They are the licensee. They are not the Telegraph Authority. Therefore, the judgment came from the Supreme Court. That was not a judgment. That was a small order.
Okay.
And if you read, and that too, in that case, the complainant was not present. His advocate was not present. It was one side heard. And even in that judgment, they said the 7B.
Okay.
If the 7B is not applicable to the companies, how they can recourse of that very judgment?
Okay.
So even if it goes to the larger bench, I am very sure it would be a win-win situation for the consumers only. Because
Exactly.
on that particular day, the party who was arguing the case or the advocate, he did not brought to the notice of the Supreme Court the relevant judgment of the Supreme Court,
Okay.
which has been analyzed by the High Court in this very judgment.
Fine, sir. Let's move to the next question. Having been through the grind yourself, how feasible you think it is for an average consumer to approach a consumer forum in case of dispute?
What I feel, the consumer court is meant for the consumers only, not for the advocates. In fact,
Yeah.
it is the so simple procedure, summary procedure, not very, therefore, to my mind, a consumer should be aware of, their right. If they know it, which, to my mind, Government of India is making, their best efforts. I can see many advertisements, Jago, Grahak, Jago.
Yeah.
Repeatedly they are coming out.
Yes.
Therefore, if the consumer know their right, they should file, because there is no much technicality involved. A simple complaint they can file on one page along with the relevant documents. These are being heard. On an average, I feel it is in favor of the armed consumers only.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Let's move to the next question. Was the fact that you yourself are a lawyer made the course easier for you than an average consumer?
In this particular case, I will say definitely yes.
Okay.
Because this was a technical point when the Supreme Court has given an order, the telecom disputes are not the court. There is a not enough appointment. Even if the judges or the members are being appointed, then they don't have adequate staff with them. No stenos, no clerk and no proper court system.
Yeah.
And there are pendencies, and they know the consumer, even if will go, they will be tired by repeatedly going there.
Yes.
And that's why they will give up their fight, and ultimately they will be able to cheat to the consumers. And
Okay.
if these kind of organization comes, I'm sure they more they can boost up the morale of the consumers. Sometimes the consumer feel, even if I have been cheated, I do not know how to draft my complaints. If you people or your organization are helping them, to this extent, help them. And what I have been told, that your organization even help pre the consumer form if these issues are being resolved. I think it is a good initiative. It should continue. And if the consumer have a platform where they can get a support, so probably it help to the armed consumers.
Exactly.
Common man doesn't know how to draft, how to go, where is the location,
Yes.
which jurisdiction it falls, whether it is there, that sometimes the preliminary questions which he is struggling, which you people can help, and you can provide the adequate support to them.
Okay. Let's move to the next question. What role do you think can a Kosha play in context to consumerism in India? So this is
It would be very difficult for on my part to say, but what I can suggest, if it could be better advertised, like what I know or what I have been told, the Ministry of Consumer Affairs, encourage such kind of organization. Rather, they provide the financial support also.
Yes.
If you people are able to get the tie-up with the Ministry of Consumer Affairs,
Okay.
and you get listed your the organization in their panels,
Okay.
and they can also advertise that this is the organization where the consumer can approach for their help, and how to draft, and how to take their case forward. That I think can greatly help for the consumerism in this country. Then the people of this country can get a better relief also. And I'm sure if once these things will happen, those corporates or those companies, those who as on date take it granted that even if we do some misdeed, nothing will happen.
Yeah.
They will be also beware of these their practice. They will fall in line, and ultimately probably these kind of unnecessary dispute can be brought down to a greater extent.
So you wanted to say that the basic thing we need to do is spread awareness.
Yes.
Spread awareness about the organization in the market and the people. Okay. So now we are left with the last question. It's finally, what is your advice to the average consumers in India?
I think so. To my mind, the consumer should not give up. If they have such kind of issue, they first write to that very company,
Okay.
from dealer to their organization.
Okay.
And if within 15-20 days they don't hear anything, They just on plain paper a simple write their problem
Mhm.
and seeking a relief and file a complaint to the consumer firm, because it is the cheapest remedy have been provided under the Indian mechanism.
Yes.
Probably the 100 rupees or so a money
It's
order
a
or something to be
fees, yeah.
attached as a fees,
Hmm.
and you are not required to engage any lawyers at all.
Exactly.
And what I know in the last 20 years, the poor consumers ultimately get the relief if his case have the genuine case and have the sufficient the documents on which he is relying upon. He
Yes.
will definitely get the relief.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time, sir.
It's
Thank
my
you so
pleasure.
much.
It's my pleasure.
Okay.
Thank you.